Covering the Global Center on Adaptation's Africa Adaptation Summit had been a drain. After all the hard work, all of us, the media personnel from different parts of the world who had assembled in Rotterdam, decided to take a tour of the city. Let's just say we, the Ghanaian contingent, came in peace. But even here, my Nigerian brother, Kenneth, had some violence, aka violence, in store for us as he resurrected an age-old issue over which Ghana and Nigeria have been slugging it out. Which country cooks the best jollof rice? When Kenneth and Chichi, man and wife, disputed the Niger jollof theory.
I've been to Nigeria, I've had jollof rice, I've heard a lot about Ghanaian rice, so I just want to know, what's the dummy version of Ghanaian jollof versus Nigerian jollof?
Okay, first of all, she's with the Africa Report. All right, let's do this.
Okay, so for me, I find the Ghanaian jollof very creamy. It has a lot of sauce in it, tomato sauce. And it also has like a lot going on in the jollof. There's a lot to pick and bite while you're eating your jollof. And it also has boiled egg. I love boiled egg.
Hey, well,
but
she loves it. She's in love. She's in love. Allow her to make a.
No. But I've told you. I told you
I want to hear that versus the Nigerian.
Yeah. So allow her to finish.
No. Wait. Let me tell you. So the major difference between Nigerian jollof and Ghanaian jollof. Nigerian jollof on its own stands out. Yeah. It's the wood fried.
What do you mean?
No. So on its own, it can carry its weight. You know, but so it can carry its weight. But the Ghanaian jollof.
She's asking you a question.
But the Ghanaian jollof needs support. Ghanaian jollof needs support. You need to add shito here. You need to add this there. You need to have to give it that flavor that it needs for you to get the final taste.
The judge is here.
Yeah.
The judge is here.
But the Nigerian jollof on its own can carry its weight. And then there are even grades to Nigerian jollof.
Okay.
There's the everyday Nigerian jollof you can cook in your house, and then there's the party jollof. The party jollof, you only get to eat that at parties, at weddings and ceremonies.
And is that the one
there's a hack.
And when they make that, trust me,
Wait,
you know, people scram.
Your wife is saying there's a hack.
There's a hack for you to get to eat the smoky. So the difference between the party jollof and the homemade jollof is the smoky flavor. Because you're not allowed to cook with firewood like in your apartment. So most times when you cook for a party, you can cook outside and you can use firewood to cook the food. But now there's a hack. You can use a smoky yes. So there's this smoky powder you can buy and put. There's even charcoal. There's like charcoal flavor that you can put. Or you can let the food burn.
Can I make my comment? Can I make my comment? I'm just surprised that you're talking about the homemade jollof different from a party one. A jollof is jollof. Whether made home or at a party, it should give you that taste that you would. No, it should give you that taste that you'd enjoy. That's why we say Ghana jollof. We don't say Ghana party jollof or Ghana homemade jollof. So what it is that food, you know, I mean, when you sample food across the world, so you meet the Indians, you know that they are spicy. And so no matter the kind of food that you take from there, the spices are there. You know, you get it. You get to Japan, you know the kind of food they want to take. You go to Ethiopia, you know they like, raw meat, not cooked, nothing. I mean, as raw as it is. That's what it is. So jollof made in Ghana, doesn't matter the restaurant or the from the home or from which corner store. Trust me, you would love it. And you know what? And you know what? And the wife of my good friend just admitted that she has tasted Ghana's jollof.
You're Nigerian, right?
It is good, and she loves the shito also that goes with it. I don't know why he doesn't want to just admit. And he wants to help us.
Let him have a nibble.
So you have to understand that there are grades to this thing. Yeah? There's there's the jollof that went to community college. That's Ghana jollof. Then there's the jollof that went to Harvard, Stanford, Princeton. That's the Nigerian jollof.
Oh no!
The same jollof that attended Harvard, where Harvard students say it isn't the best. Allah his own wife. But you see, Nigerian jollof needs so many legs to stand on. Ghana jollof, Ghanaian jollof, whether it is cooked in the village or cooked on a menu in a restaurant like Kempinski or Mövenpick, it stands out. It speaks for itself. You were talking about garnishing and adding this or that. There's jollof made in Ghana where it is raw. There's nothing in it. It's just the sauce. So Maji, Ghana jollof. The only thing I can give you guys, and respect to that, we've not managed to find our way around that. It has to do with the rice. A lot of the time, you people use your local rice.
So that's like,
I'll give you that.
I was coming to that.
No, hold on. I'll give you that. You've managed to, harness your local rice. Not all the way, but it's something that we are still, grappling with. But apart from that, Ghana jollof.
No, you also need to taste the
go fit.
You also need to taste the Nigerian basmati jollof. It's in a class of its own.
But listen, we have saying basmati is across the board. It's not about Nigerian basmati.
When you use the Nigerian flavors and you use the basmati rice and you blend it in a specific way,
okay, let's take this conversation up just a notch.
But I'll give Ghana
no.
one thing.
Yeah.
The major thing I like eating from Ghana, whenever I'm in Ghana, I always make sure that I get it.
Where he's going.
It's kenke.
And
I think
Gan kenke or the fancy kenke?
so. I think it's because growing up, I had some Ghanaian friends, and going to visit them in their house as kids. I got to taste kenke at that time, and then for like over 20 or 30 years, I didn't taste it again. And the first time I went to Ghana after that, I went out looking for. I was like, no. I'm like, no, you have to give me a kinky joint, and I don't want the posh one. I want that.
The local people.
Yeah, the one like with the different sizes of fish on the side, and then the sauce on the.
When you go into the Ga communities, some of them have kenke to die for. I mean, if it's Ga kenke you're talking about. Yeah. But do you like ashito? The pepper sauce.
It needs work.
It depends on where you get it.
It needs work.
I love ashito. It's so good.
I mean,
what's
your name again?
It's not too hot. It's not too uncomfortable.
I know, but what's your name again?
My name is Chichi.
Chichi just says so.
Chichi. Hey.
No.
Please go ahead. Charlie,
I need
the dollars you do. The small one where we buy give out.
You beat your husband too.
Speak out now. You know what? You know what this project is collected. I mean, Ghana jollof, Nigeria jollof. Is that even a competition?
No, this is not.
Is that even a competition?
This red.
Look at you.
Can you imagine the conversation?
And just the word. So you know what? This same gentleman, our big man here, Chinedu Mohalu. Is it Mohalu or Mogalu? Moralo. Okay.
Exactly.
He's with Global Center on Adaptation anyway. When he was in Ghana at the Mervyn Pick Hotel, guess what he was enjoying there? Ghana jollof.
No, I didn't.
And he's here blaspheming against.
I ate banku, not. See,
Banku.
Yeah, exactly. It was banku. Yeah, it was banku.
No, you ate jollof.
No, I didn't.
You confessed. You confessed back then in Accra.
Ghana jollof rice is not cool like that. No, I told you.
No, you said you loved.
I told you. That was what I ate
because of the battle.
No, the thing is.
He ate it because it was what was available.
No, I didn't. I didn't even eat that. The only thing I had was banku. Exactly. No, and the light soup. Yeah.
Chinedu, you are fibbing.
No.
When the desirable is not available, the available becomes the desirable.
All right, so let's take this up just a notch. I'll not bring that to him because I know he's a chef. Can you cook jollof?
I can cook.
You can, like, jollof that your wife Chichi will eat and be like, damn, that's dope.
Ask her, I come out with my own special recipes. Never seen, never heard, never done, never tasted anywhere else in the world. Only in my kitchen.
In simple terms, this guy can't cook. That's all he's trying to say. He can't cook. Any recipe that is unknown that we can.
Ask his wife.
Chichi, does he ever cook jollof for you to eat and not have to visit the loo?
So she knows that.
So he just accused the Ghana jollof of needing a lot to support it.
No.
So when he cooks, he also has to add a lot.
So let me explain. No. So let me explain that. So let me explain that. So I don't eat basic eggs. Everybody wants to do eggs. They just get the condiments, they get all of that. When I do mine, I do it in a special way.
Okay.
You use quail eggs or something?
No. So I use eggs. I use bananas. I blend the bananas.
Okay.
Yeah.
For your egg?
Yes.
Wow.
I add some milk.
How does it taste?
Yeah. It's spectacular. Trust me. And I add.
Yeah, because you.
No. But I always add that level of innovation in anything I cook.
Okay.
Trust me.
So ask her, how does does he come out when he thinks his honest stuff? Honestly, is that something you look forward to every morning?
So when you cook, you shouldn't be the only one who is interested in eating. Others should also want to eat.
Exactly. So in this case,
Others must judge your
cook for himself.
More or less.
Okay, so
If I can say, the only way to really settle it down is if you guys each make your respective dishes and let me taste.
Exactly.
well, after the Jollof Wars ended, we actually got rolling to soak in the sights and sounds of beautiful Rotterdam with our tour guides, Arnoud, Johan and Inka, who showed us round some climate-adaptive locations in the city.
During Christmas. But climate change is causing that the height of the water level that will increase, and the frequency of this small-scale flooding also will increase. So we have to start to think ways, how to protect this island in the first place. Now we are going down and entering and crossing a levee and going into the center of the city, and there you could say it is -1, -2, all the way to -6 meters below sea level. So, and that's the typical thing for us. You have a question, Priya?
What is levee?
A levee is a dike. You could say that is protecting the city from flooding. Yeah, so and these dikes. We are now going to cross this street, and actually that is a dike, and is there already for ages. You have to imagine we are lucky to have water boards, water authorities that are special governmental bodies only working on water, and they are originated 1,000 years ago already. So you could say we are already for 1,000 years working on water management. But now we have to include climate change, and that's a new challenge, you could say. And the few sites that we will show you, they all have to do with extreme rainfall. So water is coming from all directions. We are a delta city. Groundwater level is changing. The river discharge is changing. Sea level is changing, and we are facing more excessive rainfall. So it's coming from all directions, and doing nothing is not an option. And now we have to take into account more extreme weather, you could say, more excessive rainfall, more droughts, more heat waves, and that's causing all kinds of new challenges. And the water quality and blue algae. When it's really a long period of heat. But excessive rainfall, that is something that we are working on already for, well, say a decade, creating more water storage in the city. And that's actually what's happening, I think, in all cities, also maybe in your cities, that we are densifying our cities with a lot of concrete. And the rainwater cannot go into the ground anymore. So we need more water storage, and to also, to a certain level, depave our cities and to regenerate the sponge function, as we call it. So we need to collect the rainwater where possible, slow down the runoff, and even try to save the water during heat waves, so when there is a drought.
I had been wondering about the high cost and seemingly sparing use of water in Rotterdam, and inquired about why that was.
In this country we do have several drinking water companies, and depending on where you live, the source of the drinking water is different. So in our case, in this region, I think 1.5 million people, they get the source of the drinking water is the river, and the drinking water company has an inlet into lakes, and that's the first, you could say, filter in a whole series of cleaning the water to make drinking water, and the standards are really high. So actually I think Dutch are used to drink water just straight straight from the tap. They know it is good, and it is even maybe better than bottles. It's more sustainable actually because you don't need bottles. So a lot of Dutch people like myself, we use bottles.
Yeah.
The Doppler. I've also got one, and I fill it with tap water.
I tried it at the bar at
Okay.
the
Yeah.
and how. And, tellingly, it didn't have the pungent chlorine. You know,
No,
it was pretty good actually.
But that's good you say, because I think maybe 2-3 decades ago that our drinking water in this city was famous for the bad taste, chlorine. But that's not the case anymore. So the drinking and other drinking water companies in Holland, they use also maybe river water filtered in the dunes. And especially in the eastern part of Holland, they get the drinking water from aquifers in the ground.
Oh, really?
So it's all different depending on where you live. Yeah. In the western part of Holland, mainly it is surface water, and in the eastern part of Holland, mainly it is groundwater.
Johan, our other tour guide, was up next telling us about a planned park.
And it's going to be transformed next year into a park. So it's going to be called Hofplein Park. So no more cars, or less cars, more green. 150 trees are going to be planted here. It's going to be a park with a lot of attention for cyclists and walkers. So it's from a hot location with a lot of cars, it's going to be a park with room to cool down within the city. And this is one of the 7 major projects in the city. Big projects with a lot of attention for climate adaptation. I think we are the greenest city of the Netherlands, but we have 1 tree per inhabitant, but it has to be more. So
1 tree per inhabitant.
Yes, and we have 640,000 inhabitants around that. So you can imagine. But still, we need a lot more green areas, because what we see is that Rotterdam is heating up, especially the city center and neighborhoods around the city center. People cannot cool down in their homes, but they also cannot cool down in the public space. So in the next few years, we're going to build a lot of small parks with green, with trees, with shade, where people also can cool down in the city, because that's the big problem now at the moment.
Quick follow-up. I've also noticed, is it a plan to get people, I don't know how long this has been, but we notice a lot of the people here are cycling, they are walking, which is good. You look at the people and the life expectancy and all of that, which is good. But is it planned? Is it just something that happened? Is it the people who are interested in it, or is it just the way you live here?
I think it's really cycling is in the veins of the Dutch. So a lot of the cities are designed with the cyclist in mind. So there are designated lanes for cyclists. So that's really. I always go to the office on my bike, and a lot of people do. So it's really, it's been there.
We finally disembarked and started out on foot to examine some of these climate adaptive sites. First in line was a community square that had been renovated to serve as a reservoir system. All right, so we're still here representing the red, gold, green and black in Rotterdam. We're still exploring the town, basically. So here we are with our guides, and they're taking us around. That's the rest of the media team, and we're going to catch up with them, have some fun. Whatever we discover, you'll discover too, yeah?
The river and the sea by dikes and storm surge barriers, but the rainwater falls on the other side of the dike. So we have 2,400 kilometers of sewage pipe drainage system, 1,100 pumping stations to pump all the water to higher grounds and eventually to the river. But our sewage system just cannot cope with all the water, especially due to climate change. We see high intensity of rainfall in the summer. So big rain showers in a short amount of time. More sewage pipe, bigger sewage pipe is not a solution. We need to retain the water, slow down the water. So what we did here is we renovated the square, so we made it more attractive, while at the same time built reservoirs where water can be temporarily stored. It's only raining 5% of the time, 95% of the time it's dry. So what do you do with these reservoirs when it's dry? Well, they have another function. Yesterday there was a big rainstorm in the evening. Maybe you've all seen it. We had a thunderstorm, a lot of water in a short amount of time. So now there is water in the reservoir. So it's supposed to be there, and within 24 hours after the rain event, it's pumped out and it's dry. And over here you see, well, you don't see it very clear now, but this is a sports field. It can be used for sports, but also for performances, because there's a school here, our school, a theater school. There's also a sports club over here. There's a church over there, and there are people living here. People who all want different things. A lot of people wanted sports. There's a stage in that reservoir. It can also be used for things like a performance. This is used for skating and BMXing. And even when it's sunny on a Sunday, the church has services in the reservoir outside.
Rotterdam would be coming here, but the community, about how many people does it serve?
Well, a lot of people. This is really a densely populated neighborhood, so I don't know the exact number, but I think it may be a few thousand.
Yeah, the interesting thing was that because we designed this, then a lot of other people and entrepreneurs in this district, they also, when they saw this, and they were inspired, and said, okay, now we understand what we need. We also have ideas. We want a green roof. And so this was really the trigger for a lot of inspiration and a snowball effect, you could say.
Right.
So it's being replicated across the community.
Yeah, and also the transition before, I now exaggerate, but before it was like the government knows what's best for the citizens and we do projects, and this is really a co-creation and also a transition we designed together with the citizens.
From there, we took a short stroll to the next site, a rain garden.
50 kilometers of sewage pipe every year, which means that we have to open up the road on 40 kilometers of city. Usually we open the road and we put back a road, but it's also an opportunity to do something to the public space. And on this location you have a road over there and you had a road over here, so the road was actually useless. Yeah, we talked with the citizens, what do you think when we remove the road? Say, okay, it's okay. But what do you want back? And I say, we have not much green in our neighborhood. We want more green. So what you see here is a rain garden. So the road is transformed into a small park where also some wadis are installed. So some small reservoirs where part of the surrounding area can drain into, but also the overpass. You see pipes running down. It also drains into the rain garden. So actually this is the next step, I think, from a water square which focuses purely on stormwater. This focus on stormwater, but also adding more green and reducing the heat. The water square is really nice. There's also a lot of concrete, and concrete heats up, and the city stays warm during the night. This is the next step. Also designed together with the citizens, but also here we take a next step, because this is also maintained by the citizens. So a group of people living here, they do all the plants. Well, now it was really dry the last couple of months, so it's not that green, but they make sure it looks good and everything. The letters is the signing of the neighborhood, but in there are also rain barrels. So we retain the water, so we can use it to water the plants in dry periods. And it's actually a smart rain barrel. Rain barrels, they have the tendency to be full when the next rain event comes, and then you have old water with a bad water quality. This one is connected to the rainfall radar, and if a storm is coming, it empties itself, so you have new, fresh rainwater. It was a pilot, and now we have also small ones that you can put in your garden or in the streets where people can water their plants. Also to make sure to have more green in the city. This is really extreme. Not every road, we cannot give up every road in the city, but for the next 4 years, we have a high budget to transform all the 40 kilometers per year into climate adaptive roads.
But why call this place a wadi?
Because we stole the word from, that's an African word, for a river that most of the time is dry. but when it is extreme rainfall, then there is water. And that's why we call these lower parts in the parks also wadis. There's a connection with Africa.
I was also curious about why Europe especially, which had promised to progressively move away from the use of coal, which has high pollution impact, was going back on its word on the back of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Thing I found rather curious, it skipped my mind and I did not ask yesterday. So on the back of what is happening in Russia, Europe, you made promises that you were going to move away from coal because we know what that does to the environment. And in the past, in Paris and others, you said that Africa should move away. It doesn't matter if you're now developing, move away from coal. But with what's happening in Russia, Europe, including the Netherlands, you've increased your coal consumption by millions of tons. That's hypocrisy. And you're saying, yes, climate change and all of that, but you're doing the exact opposite.
When
Why
it
is that?
suits you.
When it suits you. And Africa needs to develop and also industrialize and also pollute the environment a bit. But you're saying don't pollute. And when it suits you, you turn around and pollute.
Okay, it was a nice day.
What's that?
Tough question. Yeah.
No, of course it is. By the way, we use coal, but we in this country we use natural gas. That's also causing emission, but also even in our country we don't face natural earthquakes. But now in the northern part of Holland we have earthquakes caused by extracting gas from our own soil the layers. But it is the case, and we of course hope that it is temporarily to increase this. But the challenge is to invest in wind and solar. And especially I think in your countries, the sun is a big, huge energy source.
That we're not putting to the best of use.
So maybe we have to later. What our mayor I think said, maybe we have to import energy from you guys because you will be the energy producers.
We also went up an abandoned subway that is now being used for tree planting purposes, a park in effect, to create a green corridor.
To Die Hague and to Scheveningen Beach used to run here. It's now below the surface, so it's a subway. This was empty for years, maybe 8 years, almost 10 years. A lot of people already wanted to transform this former train track into a park, like the High Line in New York. Now it's going to happen. So next year they're starting development of a big park. Starting here, this is the old train station, all the way to the highway, which is around 2 kilometers. So a former train track is going to be transformed into a green corridor all through the city. So it's really adding up to the attractiveness of this neighborhood. There's a lot of room for green, but also for water storage. So what we are going to do is add a lot of green, but green uses a lot of water. What you see over here, well, it's somewhat green, but also brownish. You really see that the heat and the drought has an effect on all this green. Our council wants more and more green in the city, which means you also need water. And we always saw water as a problem. Catching it, retaining it, getting rid of it as soon as possible. But it's really an asset, that rainwater. So all around this track, we're going to catch the stormwater, clean it with plants on this overpass, and then pump it to the first aquifer, so around 15 to 30 meters deep in the first sand layer. You can store it there for a long period of time because it's cool, pathogens don't have an effect, and you can pump it up once you want to use it. So in this way we get this green corridor, and we also keep it green for a long period of time. And there's also a lot of attention for biodiversity. There's actually going to be special staircases for the hedgehog. You know, the small animal. Yeah. And I heard, the small porcupine. I heard at night it walks for 5 kilometers. So every night it can go one way and back, and with this small legs. Huh? So now it's really from something that was only built for transportation with a lot of concrete is going to make this neighborhood more attractive and climate proof again. So, and next year they are starting with the construction of it, and this is actually the first like pilot of this park.
We were soon back on the bus headed for our final stage of the tour, another climate adaptive facility called the Depot Building.
Yes.
This building, though it is full of mirrors on the outside, thus creating some concerns in terms of heat retention, also houses a reservoir to aid in water evacuation. The Depot Building, which houses a museum, a cafe, a restaurant, a bar, and a roof park, lived up to its spectacular billing, and we were all eager to take some photos around it. It also is popular among the Dutch and tourists alike because it reflects part of the city's skyline in its external mirrors.
Where the pieces of art are stored that are not on display in the museum, and they also do restoration on statues and paintings and everything. At the same time, it's a really attractive and really new iconic building for Rotterdam. It opened half a year ago. So it's built out of a necessity due to climate change, but also has climate adaptation in mind, because on the roof there's not a green roof, but there's a park on top of the roof, and there's a restaurant and a bar, and well, it's really to make the building more attractive but also climate proof. And it's used a lot for pictures because it's really nice, I think.
After taking in the scenery, we went underground into the water retention system of the building.
As I told you, there is not so much surface water in the city center, problems during heavy rainfall. So as you are constructing a parking garage below the surface, you are digging, you might as well at the same time build a huge water retention. And it's actually at a quite convenient location, because over here is a top view of where we are. And actually the main sewage pipe which collects where all the water, all the sewage water and rainwater flows through from the city center, it runs right in front of this garage. So this was built. At the same time the water storage was built, and actually they just connected the main sewage pipe with the underground water storage. When it's raining, when the sewage reaches its capacity, a valve is opened and this water storage fills up within 30 minutes. And it's 10 million liters, 10,000 cubic meters of water. It's really dirty water because it's a combined sewer that's connected to this water storage. So it's both storm water and sewage water. And if there's really heavy rainfall and you are here, you actually see the water just on top of the window. And then, so yesterday there was some rain, but not so much that this fills up. No, this is dirty water. So what we do after a rain event, when the sewage system is empty again, we pump this all back to the sewage system, where it's being pumped to the wastewater treatment plant before it's discharged into the river. Yeah, and the thing is, building just a water storage on its own is way too expensive. We just don't have the money to do so. But combining it with a parking garage, where there's already construction going on, it becomes a feasible solution. So that's what we try to do with climate adaptation everywhere in the city. If there is a project going on, a project in the public space, a new development, a new building, link in climate adaptation. So make sure that the extra, so sometimes it's a green roof, sometimes it's a used water storage, take the opportunity to do something like this. And this is the only one in the city, and it's used around 7 times a year. And before we had this, we had a lot of, so when the sewage system fills up, it overflows into the surface water. So we only have one canal in the city center, so almost 10 times a year there was sewage water flowing into the canal. So oxygen is gone, fish die, a lot of bad smell problems. Since we had this Water storage, we have one combined sewage overflow every 2 years. So it really helps in climate proofing the city.
All too soon, it was time to draw the curtains on the tour. Boy, it had been fun, and we had learnt a lot about how the city of Rotterdam was adapting to climate change challenges. Later that day, we caught the moving road bridge opposite our hotel as it was lifted for a shipping vessel to pass. And there you have it, the city of Rotterdam in all its daytime splendor. At night, however, we were surprised by the rain, a not too common phenomenon in Rotterdam, and I had a brush with it. There you are. Alright, so I just came out of called Mina line, which is the subway, and I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't rain much in the Netherlands, especially in a city like Rotterdam, despite all the greenery, but when it does rain, it pours, like you can see. I decided to take a little bit of a trip, and then I got soaked, I got beaten a bit by the rain. All of it, well, enjoyable, the beauty of Rotterdam. After escaping the rain and being back at our 17th floor hotel lobby, we pondered some memorable quotes by famous Dutch figures, together with some interesting artworks. Coming back home, we made our way from Rotterdam to Amsterdam. It was then that I noticed something interesting that I had missed earlier, an airport library in Schiphol. I took a few minutes to peruse some of the literature available there, wondering when we would do same back home to promote our own cultural heritage and touristic sites at the Kotoka International Airport. Well, from here, it was all the way back to Accra via Dubai as we headed back to home sweet home.